लोभोपहत चेतसः कुलशया कृतं दोषं मित्रद्रोहे च पातकम् कथं न ज्ञेयम् अस्माभिः पापाद् अस्मान् निवर्तितुं कुलशया कृतं दोषं प्रपश्यद्भिर्जनार्दन. Translation. O Janardana. Oh yeah. O Janardana. Although these men, overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why should we, with knowledge of this sin, engage in these acts? Text 39. Kula shaye pranashyanti kula dharma sanatana dharme nashte kulam krishnam adharmo bhavatyuta. Translation. With the destruction of dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligious practice. Text 40. Adharma bhavat Krishna pradushyanti kulastriya strishu dushtasu varshneya jayate varna sankara. Translation. When irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become corrupt, and from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vishnu, comes unwanted progeny. Text 41. Sankara narakayaiva kula gnanam kulasya cha patanti pitaro yesham lupta pindodaka kriyaha. Translation. When there is increase of unwanted population, a hellish situation is created both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. In such corrupt families, there is no offering of oblations of food and water to the ancestors. Text 42. Dosha etai kulagnana varna sankarakahi utsadyante jati dharma kula dharmascha shashvataha. Translation. Due to the evil deeds of the destroyers of family tradition, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated. Text 43. Utsana kula dharmana manushyanam vinardana narake niyatang vaso bhavati yanushushuma. Translation. O Krishna, maintainer of the people, I have heard by disciplic succession that those who destroy family traditions dwell always in hell. Text 44. Aho bata mahat papam kartum vyavasita vayam yad raja sukalobhena hantum swajanam adyataha. Translation. Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts, driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness. Text 45. Yadi mam apratikaram ashastram shastra panayah Tartarastarane hanyus tanmeshe matarang bhavet. Translation. I would consider it better for the sons of the Dhritarashtra to kill me unarmed and unresisting, rather than fight with them. Text 46. Sanjaya uvacha evam uktva arjuna sankhye rato pastar upavishat visrijya sasharam japam shoka samvigna manasa. Translation. Sanjaya said, Arjuna, having spoken thus on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief.
So these 10 verses here, you have Arjuna just in disbelief, just trying to figure out what to do. He's still hasn't come to the conclusion that he's not entitled to the results of his actions. You know, it's more important to focus in on the action and perform your duty than worry about the results of it. The results of the actions belong to Krishna. It's just revealed later in scripture. But here it is pointing out also With the destruction of dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligious practice. This goes on when irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna. The women of the family become corrupt, and from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vishnu, comes unwanted progeny. So you see a vicious cycle that begins to happen when you have, good family traditions that come to an end. There's actually an interesting experiment done. I don't know if you all have heard of the Great Mouse Utopia. The scientists put together this great mouse utopia, this environment perfect for mice. More enough space, more enough food, more enough water, everything that they needed to survive and thrive. Turned out to be an utter failure in the end. What ended up happening? The mice population exploded at first. Because there was so much food, so much water, and so much space. But after a while, they started competing for space, even though they had more enough space. They started guarding their food, even though they had more enough food. The male mice stopped seeking out the females, and the females started, staying away from the males. It was kind of a strange scenario that started happening with the mice. They had this perfect environment, all the food, all the water, all the space needed. But in the end, the mice competed against each other for these unlimited resources and ended up population crash, ended up dying out because of it. So kind of puts into perspective on what do we need in life? What do we actually need in life? We got this humongous planet with abundant amount of resources. There's more than enough resources to go around, but we're all fighting for it. We're all fighting for space, even though there's still hundreds of millions of acres out there of unused space. But we're all fighting for it, fighting for resources, even though there's millions and tons of resources underground, above ground. I mean, we have countries fighting over water, even though the earth is made up majority of water. It's crazy. There was a story of a boatman. He takes on a scholar pays, to get across the river. And as the boatman is rowing the boat, getting across the river, the scholar's asking questions, just like, what river is this called? He's, trying to take notes, writing things down. The boatman's like, I don't know. You don't know? No, never asked. I just try to get from this side of the river to the other. That's my job. Oh, well, this is a beautiful area. What are those? Do you know what those trees are called? I don't know. I'm just paid to get from one side of the river to the other. That's all I know. Scholar just getting more concerned and, trying to analyze the world around him and look at the environment. It's like, what kind of fish are in this river? I don't know. I'm just trying to get to the other side of the river. Well, what about those mountains in the distance? Do you know what they are called? No, I don't know. So after question after question, the boatman just kept saying, I don't know. I'm just know how to get to the other side of the river. And the scholar's just like, you've wasted your life just going from one side of the river to the other. What a waste. You've missed out on so much. Well, about that time, a storm comes up, the boat capsizes, boatman swims across and gets to the other side of the river. The scholars are clinging on to the boat that's capsized, calling for help. And the boatman says, just swim. And the scholar says, I don't know how. Boatman says, I guess you wasted your life. So Bhagavad Gita is much like the boatman. Prabhupada said, this is all we need. The Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitamrita is just the icing on the cake. But this is the essence of understanding those two books. Those two Bhagavatams. Understand the Gita, you can grasp the Srimad Bhagavatam, you can grasp the Chaitamrita. When their religion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become corrupt, and the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vishnu, comes unwanted progeny. Or good population in human society is a basic principle for peace, prosperity, and spiritual progress in life. The Varnashrama religious principles were so designed that the good population would prevail in society for the general spiritual progress of state and community. Such population depends on the chastity and faithfulness of its womanhood. As children are very prone to be misled, women are similarly very prone to degradation. Therefore, both children and women require protection by the older members of the family. By being engaged in various religious practices, women will not be misled into adultery. According to Janaka Pandit, women are generally not very intelligent, therefore not trustworthy. So the different family traditions of religious activity should always engage them, and thus their chastity and devotion will give birth to a good population, eligible for participating in the Varnashram system. On the failure of such Varnashram dharma, naturally the women become free to act and mix with men, and thus adultery is indulged in at the risk of an unwanted population. Irresponsible men provoked adultery in society, and thus unwanted children flood the human race at the risk of war and pestilence. A good friend of mine once told me, when we were discussing women, men operate more on a 1 + 1 = 2, very logical, very coarse logic, set in, pretty much set into stone. Very, very logical course. Women, on the other hand, they think what they feel and they feel what they think. So, an I love you from a husband one day, a woman may be like, oh, thank you so much. I love you from a husband on another day. What do you mean by that? Could get that kind of response. And this comes very true because I was married once. And some of the very same wordings you use one day, because she feels something different the next day, could mean something totally different to her. And so this is why women should really be protected. Because they think what they feel and they feel what they think. If they feel that this is a right decision, then they think it's a right decision. They feel if it's a wrong decision, it's going to be a wrong decision. That's why there's a lot of protection that's needed for especially women, because they are ruled more by emotional intelligence than intellectual intelligence. Both intelligence are needed in life, emotional and intellectual. But women have a tendency to be more on the emotional side of things. Text 41. When there is increase of unwanted population, a hellish situation is created for both family and for those who destroy the family tradition. In such corrupt families, there is no offering of obligations of food and water to the ancestors. Purport. According to the rules and regulations of fruitive activities, there is a need to offer periodical food and water to the forefathers of the family. This offering is performed by the worship of Vishnu because eating the remnants of food offered to Vishnu can deliver one from all kinds of sinful reactions. Sometimes the forefathers may be suffering from various types of sinful reactions, and sometimes of them cannot even acquire a gross material body and are forced to remain in subtle bodies as ghosts. Thus, when remnants of prasadam food are offered to the forefathers by descendants, the forefathers are released from ghostly or other kinds of miserable life. Such help rendered to forefathers is a family tradition, and those who are not in devotional life are required to perform such rituals. One who is engaged in the devotional life is not required to perform such actions. Simply by performing devotional service, one can deliver hundreds and thousands of forefathers from all kinds of misery. is stated in the Bhagavatam, Devasi Bhutapta Nima Pritnam Nakinakaro Nayam Rini Charajyan Savatmanaya Saranam Saranyam Gato Mukunda Parihitriya Kartam. Anyone who has taken shelter at the lotus feet of Mukunda, the giver of liberation, given up all kinds of obligations, and has taken to the path in all seriousness, owes neither duties nor obligations to the demigods, sages, general living entities, family members, humankind, or forefathers. Such obligations are automatically fulfilled by performance of the devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 42. Due to the evil deeds of the destroyers of family tradition, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated. Purport. The four orders of human society combined with family welfare activities as they are set forth by the institution of the Sanatana Dharma or Varnashna Dharma are designed to enable the human being to attain his ultimate salvation. Therefore, breaking the Sanatana Dharma tradition by irresponsible leaders, the society brings about chaos in that society, and consequently, people forget the aim of life, Vishnu. Such leaders are called blind. Persons who follow such leaders are sure to be led into chaos. As especially in this age of Kali, as we see about the degradation of the family. I mean, you look at especially here in the U.S., you know, almost half of all marriages end up in divorce. So you have so many families being split apart these days, and now it's even a whole nother game going on. I mean, my generation, you know, we were out, you know, looking, you know, getting a date, you know, in middle school and high school. You know, now it's the relationships have broken down so much that people there's some reports out there that people just aren't dating anymore. They aren't looking for boyfriends and girlfriends in school. It's interesting because to keep a healthy population, society needs at least I think it was 2.1 births per family. Most of the nations of the world today are under that. The United States is under that, and they're talking about a population collapse that's going on because we're not bringing enough offspring into the world. So we've already gone past the point where we have too much offspring, creating hellish conditions of life. Now to the point that all this extra offspring doesn't want offspring, creating a new situation that countries are dealing with. That's another reason why the U.S. is having to deal so heavily with immigration, because we aren't keeping up with our own birthing numbers here in the U.S. That's something they don't want to talk about on the evening news. They just want to talk about immigration. But immigration is needed because we got to replace the workers that are retiring. Let's see here. Text 43. O Krishna, maintainer of the people, I have heard by a disciplinic succession that those who destroy family traditions dwell always in hell. Purport. Arjuna bases his argument not on his personal experience, but on what he has heard from the authorities. That is the way of receiving real knowledge. One cannot reach the real point of factual knowledge without being helped by the right person who is already established in that knowledge. There is a system in the Varnashram institution by which one who has to undergo the process of ablution before death for his sinful activities. One who is always engaged in sinful activities must utilize the process of ablution called the prayachita, Without doing so, one surely will be transferred to hellish planets to undergo miserable lives as a result of sinful activities. Hmm. One cannot reach the real point of factual knowledge without being helped by the right person who is already established in that knowledge. This is where it's important to have a guru, to find that guru that's going to help you cross this ocean of material suffering. We have this wonderful Paramparam system going all the way back to Krishna, where we're offering all of our services, everything of us to our guru. All of our successes, all of our failures, we're offering to our guru. Our guru is offering everything of his to his guru, and so forth, going all the way on back. You have this just linking us, the entire Paramparam succession, lifting us up straight to Krishna. All you have to do is become a part of that system. Take initiation under a guru, part the Paramparam system. That is the quickest and fastest way back to Krishna. You know, some may argue, well, I can do it on my own. Well, possibly. I mean, technically, there's a slim chance it's kind of like winning the lottery or, you know, getting an honorary degree at Harvard and never having to attend there. You know, there's a possibility, but there's no guarantees that you can do it yourself. You know, this is where the guru helps you on that path. Chanting our 16 rounds a day, living to our vows. This is what helps us. This is what's going to get us back to Krishna as fast as possible. Without this system, I don't know, might be born a goat or a cat, possibly a human the next life. I don't know, you know, there's millions of forms of species that we can be reborn as. You know, it's kind of like playing the lottery. You're taking your chance, you know, without this system. And this is where, you know, spreading the Maha Mantra, you know, going on Sankirtan and spreading the Maha Mantra and telling people, you know, to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is what is going to save people. This is what's going to give them a chance to be born as a devotee in their next life, even if they don't take to this process this lifetime. They'll get it. It's like sending out a fishing line, sending out all these hooks, you know, getting people hooked into Krishna. And Krishna's just slowly reeling them in, and they fight too much. He lets the line back on out, slowly reels it in. They fight too much. He lets the line back on out. Eventually, he wears them down and, you know, catches a fish. But I don't believe that you can escape Krishna's mercy. He is so merciful. Demons have tried to, you know, escape his mercy. Demons have tried to, you know, conquer Krishna. No matter how evil they were, when Krishna came to destroy them, they got liberated. Think about that. No matter how evil they were, when Krishna came to destroy them, they got liberated. Putana, you know, poisoned her breast to try to kill Krishna. She acts as his mother in Vaikuntha now, in Krishna Loka. She acts as his mother. She got liberated. Krishna's mercy's there. It's out there. You know, it's just how fast do we want to get back to him? How fast do we want to take to his mercy? We got to beg Krishna. We got to beg every day. The Maha Mantra is begging. Oh, please put me in your service. Oh, please put me in your service. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's continually begging and begging and begging. And when you're done begging, you beg some more. That's the only way that we can advance in Krishna consciousness, is taking this very humble approach as a servant of the servant of the servant of the servant, and beg and beg and beg. Beg your guru, beg Krishna for the mercy. The mercy's there. You just got to beg for it every day, every moment. Text 44. Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness. Report. Driven by selfish motives, one may be inclined to such sinful acts as the killing of one's own brother, father, or mother. There are many such instances in history of the world, but Arjuna, being a saintly devotee of the Lord, is always conscious of moral principles and therefore takes care to avoid such activities. Text 45. I would consider it better for the sons of Dharashtra to kill me unarmed and unresting unresisting rather than fight with them. Report. It is a custom according to Kshatriya fighting principles that unarmed and unwilling foes should not be attacked. Arjuna, however, in such an magnanimous position, decided he would not fight if he were attacked by the enemy. He did not consider how much the other party was bent upon fighting. All these symptoms are due to soft-heartedness resulting from his being a great devotee of the Lord. So here again, he hasn't realized that Krishna has arranged this battle. You know, this battle is being brought forth because Krishna desired it. He wanted this battle. He wanted this opportunity. You know, this opportunity to, speak the Bhagavad Gita on the battlefield to his, great friend Arjuna. Arjuna has not understood this yet. He's still lamenting on, these are my family members, that I'm going to have to kill. I don't want to kill them. That's my uncle over there. That's my cousin. That's, what's going to be the result of this? But as we find out here later in the Bhagavad Gita, that it's all been arranged, and everyone on the other side of the battlefield is going to die, and there's nothing that's going to stop it. Text 46. Sanjaya said, Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. While observing the situation of his enemy, Arjuna stood up on the chariot, but he was so afflicted with lamentation that he sat down again, set aside his bow and arrows. Such a kind and soft-hearted person in the devotional service of the Lord is fit to receive self-knowledge. So leading into chapter 2, here's Arjuna trying to figure out, why he should fight. Chapter 2, we're going to find out that all these reasons that Krishna is telling him he's going to fight. This is when Arjuna is going to find out, hey, gee, my best friend here. Wait, this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Oh my. Can you just imagine that right before a battle? Guy sitting right next to you, all of a sudden you find out he's the God. That's a mind trip. Is there any questions or comments? Yes, probably.
Page 11. So I thought it was nice that you were talking about how we should beg for Krishna's mercy. And I don't know if I probably don't have realization of this, but I just thought it'd be nice to share with everyone. But there's a purport for Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 20, Text 27 and 28. And in the purport, here we go. In the purport, it says, okay, so seems like, okay, I'm just gonna, so the purport says that the devotee thinks like this. He's praying like this whenever he prays. So he prays like this: by my previous shameful life, my heart is polluted with many illusory attachments. Personally, I have no power to stop them. Only Lord Krishna within my heart can remove such inauspicious contamination. But whether the Lord removes such attachments immediately or lets me go on being afflicted by them, I will never give up my devotional service to him. Even if the Lord places millions of obstacles in my path, and even if because of my offenses I go to hell, I will never for a moment stop serving Lord Krishna. I am not interested in mental speculation and fruitive activities. Even if Lord Brahma personally comes before me offering such engagements, I will not be even slightly interested. Although I am attached to material things, I can see very clearly that they lead to no good because they simply give me trouble and disturb my devotional service to the Lord. Therefore, I sincerely repent my foolish attachments to so many material things, and I am patiently awaiting Lord Krishna's mercy. And the translation is nice because it talks about a devotee, what he thinks. Uh, it talks about a devotee, what happens to him. So it says, having awakened faith in the narrations of my glories, being disgusted with all material activities, knowing that all sense gratification leads to misery, but still being unable to renounce all sense enjoyment, my devotee should remain happy and worship me with great faith and conviction. Even though he is sometimes engaged in sense enjoyment, my devotee knows that all sense gratification leads to a miserable result, and he sincerely repents such activities. So this is, I'm not gonna say much after this, but like it, this is one of the verses in Shastra that it talks about uh, how a devotee should be praying to God or Krishna, how a devotee should be chanting, what mood he should be in. And I thought it was nice that you brought it up, so I thought I'd kind of expand on it.
Yes, that's a very nice purport. It's also a reminder that, you know, how so much of what we're going through, we're all on different paths in devotional service. We're all on, some are ahead, some are behind. We're all in different places in our devotional service. And in one aspect that we have to really surrender ourselves to come to that understanding is that I can't do this under my own will. You'll find yourself, falling all the time, making mistakes all the time. That's where we got to keep coming back to Krishna and beg him, oh, help me in my devotional service. Help me stop making the same mistakes. Help me stop breaking the vow over and over and over again. It's just all these little subtle things that you begin to notice in yourself. You have to beg Krishna. You have to have a relationship with the deities. Have a relationship with Gornitai. In your morning or after morning arti, have spend a few minutes renewing your vow, spending a few minutes, begging Gornitai to take away, anything that you want to taken away out of your life. You know, you have lustful thoughts all the time. It's very hard for men a lot of times. You have ask Gornitai over and over and over every single day to take them away. And any shortcomings we have, we should always be going to the deities every day. Going to Gornitai every day and asking Gornitai relieve us. Yeah.
I just want to say, like, full disclaimer that I I don't have full realization of this particular text, but I have been starting to see a trend in myself that I like to sleep too much. That's just to put it bluntly, I just like to sleep too much. So this is like that verse about like in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's like that verse in the Bhagavad Gita verse, like Matra Sparshas tu Konteya, Shitoshna Sukadukadaha, Agama Paino Nityas, Tangsa Tiksha Sobharata. So that verse is saying that all of these distresses are temporary. And today I'll be honest, like I was just feeling lazy in the morning and I was just thinking like, I was freaking out and I was like, I don't know, I was freaking out. And but I reminded myself that like, this is temporary. If I just keep on going, then I'll get over it. And it's only if I keep on going that I'll get over it. I won't do it if I can't go anywhere else. So that's another part of the philosophy. Like somebody has to be really like exhausted materially in order to actually keep going because there's really nothing out there for any of us except more pain and suffering. I mean, when we become a pure devotee, then you can use everything in Krishna's service. But for right now, especially for the people living in the temple, especially for me personally, uh, it's just not possible to have uh, a good life without Krishna consciousness. So thank you for letting me share.
Any other questions or comments? Oh, Hayden?
The one thing that I don't know, I heard was listening to a class a while ago about the there's like some people when they read Prabhupada speak about women and how they're uh like lesser or something like that. Not lesser, but what is the words they use? He just uses like what is it, where is it? Was it just there? Yeah. Yeah. So I thought that that was interesting because one devotee um told me to look at Queen Kunti because I'm kind of like a mama's boy, so like when it comes to like hearing something, I'm like I can feel defensive, so like it's like okay, well let me see what Prabhupada is. So reading Queen Kunti is like saying, well, Queen Kunti, she's queen, she's Maharani. Um, um, she's really respected, but she's chaste and like kept not kept. See, even like the way if I say kept away or if I say protected, like it's like the same thing, but it just because of the change of the words, it's there's like a really like razor's edge. Um, I just thought that was interesting, because you mentioned also the emotional intelligence and like sometimes it, like yeah, that's um an interesting point because especially in society today without religious principles, um it's really difficult to have like strong families and to have strong culture and to have, you know, righteous living without like protecting women and understanding that this is just is like, okay, it's just, you know, dogs eat meat. You know, like it's not like dogs are necessarily like evil because they eat meat. Just dogs eat meat. It's just is. You know, like it's not like most favorable. You know, it's not like a nice thought, I guess, but it's just the way it is. You know.
Well, it's interesting that our society has fallen so much, is that now it's actually become offensive. If you're like putting out and like you say like on those single date lines, you know, looking for a female that knows how to cook and clean and raise a family, that's actually offensive now because women aren't, you know, they should be beyond that these days. So that's how much we have fallen to where women think that they don't have to know how to have know the basic essentials of raising a family. So many are growing up and becoming in full adulthood, not knowing how to cook rice, boil water. You know, something that you need just the basic essentials to serve yourself at least. They just don't know, and it's really sad that that society has geared women towards thinking that, oh no, you know, that's this, you know, this is, you know, degrading them if you expect them to know how to do that. You know. Anyways, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.